So what is your ethnicity?
Vietnamese.
You're okay. Are you full Vietnamese?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you live there? Did you migrate?
No, my parents did. I was born and raised here.
In Montana?
Yeah.
Okay. In Missoula specifically?
Missoula. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's pretty lucky. Do you think that? Do you think are you glad to be raised in Missoula?
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of the better places that I could have grown up. I feel like I learned a lot here that I wouldn't have if I would have grown up in a city or.
Really? Like what?
Um, I feel like just having access to like the mountains and all that stuff was just really beneficial to me. I feel like I just wouldn't have thrived as a human being if I would have grown up in a city. In a city.
Okay. Do you think Missoula has been diverse enough for you?
I would say so. I don't know actually. Um, yeah, I would say so.
What school did you go to?
I went to Hellgate Elementary,
Okay. And then in middle school and high school?
and then for high school, I went to Big Sky High School.
Oh, geez. Okay. I was gonna ask, how many people of color were in your graduating class?
Not a whole lot, honestly. You could probably count them on both your hands, I would imagine.
Oh, on both of your hands?
Yeah, probably like maybe
Oh,
10.
that's better than I was thinking for Big Sky.
Yeah, I mean, I would say roughly about like 10, probably.
Okay, I think that in my graduating class, there were like five of us.
Oh, really?
Like maybe not even. Think, I like within in my high school, I think so some of them were my cousins. Like cousins, and and then there were some indigenous students, but I think like yeah, in my graduating class there were probably five people of color, if that
Yeah.
many.
Yeah, I feel like most of them would have been either Native American, and then there's a lot of Hmong people that grow up here.
In Missoula?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say there's a
Wow.
small handful of them.
Okay. Um, did you like are you friends with any of them?
I mean, I grew up with quite a bit of them, but I
Okay.
would not say that we were friends, but we definitely knew each other growing up.
Okay. I was gonna ask like if you bonded over being people of color.
Um, no, I wouldn't say so, honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. I feel like theoretically you'd think that happened, but in school for me, we didn't either, you know?
Yeah. And where did you go to school?
I went to Helena High.
On the high.
Yeah, and Helena is much, much, much less diverse than here.
Right.
Yeah. Um, how old are you?
24.
Okay. So did you go to college here?
I didn't go to college actually.
Oh, really? What did you do?
I graduated high school and then just started doing photography for the shelter, and then I've been there ever since.
Okay, at the Humane Society?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, your photos are amazing.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
love.
it's been fun.
Is it open to the public right now?
It's not. No.
Okay.
Everything.
That's good to know because
Yeah, everything's appointment based. There's like a waiting list for dogs and cats that's capped off at like 150 people.
because
And then
people are trying to drop their pets off of
no,
the.
because people are trying to adopt.
Oh, that's good.
There's
Okay.
like three animals in the building right now, or three dogs,
Okay.
and like a handful of cats.
Wow. Okay. Because we tried to go, my partner and I tried to go to the Humane Society on his birthday to go play with animals, which was April 15th, right at the beginning of all this mess.
Mhm.
And they were closed. And then like we have been talking about adopting a dog, but we're not like, I know that if we go, we're probably going to end up bringing home a dog. So I feel like it's better that we,
That's typically what happens.
yeah, we need like to wait a while. But so what are your experiences at home? Or what were your experiences at home? Do you have a lot, do your parents practice a lot of their own culture at home?
Yeah. So growing up was a little difficult because I was trying to learn Vietnamese and English at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And so there was a huge speech problem. A lot of the words that I was trying to pronounce in English would come out quite wrong. Um,
Really?
yeah, it was definitely difficult to learn both, right? Because you go home, you speak Vietnamese at home, and then you go to school and then you try to speak English there. And there was definitely a lot of meetings with teachers and parents that they were like, it's great that he's trying to learn Vietnamese, but he's really struggling trying to learn English here. So we have to try and figure that out. So they put me. So I went through like years and years of speech when I was like a little tot.
Of speech therapy, you
Like
mean?
speech class, yeah. I don't know
Okay.
whatever they called it back then.
Okay. Wow, that's so interesting because I've always been really conflicted about my mom's decision to stop speaking her language with us
Hmm.
because or at least continue to teach us um because I feel like that's so much of the identity, of being part of another culture.
Yeah,
And I've had to try and learn it on my own as an adult, which is not very easy.
right.
But I guess like that what you're saying is kind of like the reason why they didn't, with us was because they were worried about how we were going to like if they didn't want to make it harder for us to speak English and fit in and
Yeah, and by the end, I would say probably about like third grade that we pretty much dropped most of it. But I can understand it fluently, but it's very difficult for me to talk back.
really.
Yeah.
And okay, in Vietnamese, is it a lot of like are a lot of words like kind of the same but just pronounced differently too?
No, I would say it's very different. I would say it's
Okay.
very different.
Okay. Or do you know what I mean though? Like how I think there are a couple languages where you say like like say like ka and then like which is not a real example, but just saying it like that is one meaning and then saying ka is like another meaning.
Yeah.
Is Do you have that in your language?
No, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. So is there a Vietnamese community in Missoula?
Um, I would say it's super small if there is. I
Yeah.
know like my aunt lives here. She owns the Vietnam Grill, and then
Oh,
I
really?
yeah. You've been there?
Of course. Dude, it's
Um,
everyone's favorite restaurant in town.
it really. But I mean, so like my grandparents used to live here when we were younger, and now they're in Portland. And I would say that the majority of my family used to live here, but they all went to Portland.
Okay. Why
Because
is that?
I actually don't know. I want to say they probably followed my aunt there. Um, they kind of just they're a very close knit family, so they all kind of just left. I don't know why my parents decided to stay, but I'm glad they did.
Yeah. So that they were around like or at what age did they leave? The
Uh,
rest of your family?
they
What
left
age were you? Sorry.
when my family left to Portland.
Yeah.
I was probably like 6 or 7, I want to say.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Do you go visit Portland?
I haven't been there in a while. I would say it's been like 5 years since I went out and visited them. It's
Okay.
like hit
Do
my
you,
20s, got wrapped up with work, and
is it different, like your experience there? Do you notice a difference?
yeah, like in Portland,
Yeah,
or
just like your dynamic with like how strangers treat you or look at you.
yeah. Well, I would say that as opposed to there, I would say like the community down there. I would say there's a lot of Vietnamese people in Portland for sure.
Okay.
Where there's not so many here. So like for example, if I like am to walk into a bar in like the middle of a Vando, it's everybody turns their heads and everybody's always really nice too, right? But there's that sudden moment where where you walk in and everybody's like, "You are not from around here."
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think if you were a girl, do you think that people would look at you differently?
I would say so, yeah, right?
Yeah.
As
Someone, what?
as a female, whenever you walk into like an old timey bar in Montana, do you get a lot of looks?
Um,
Being
I think just like as a girl, you learn to not notice.
okay,
Um, so I think like just like race aside, like you just kind of I don't know, you know what I mean?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think like girls have to deflect a lot.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that's just like I don't know. I don't think it has to do with like my skin color or anything, um but when I do go to Helena, I do notice that people are looking at me and watching me when I'm in stores. And suddenly, like, I noticed this in the last couple years that whenever I go back to Helena, I think about my appearance, like my skin color, and and when I'm in Missoula, I don't think about it at all. But whenever I go back home, I feel like if I touch something, someone's watching to see if I'm gonna steal it or something. Have you
oh
had
really?
similar experiences?
I don't. Not that I've ever noticed. I hope not. I'm not sure. I've never. I would say that I'm quite vigilant, but I don't think I've ever. I guess I'll pay attention to that more.
Oh, sorry. I don't
No,
I don't want you to like be self-conscious of that.
no,
Because
I'm
I think
not.
like that's kind of like the point of like part of the point of all
Yeah.
of this is for people of color to feel more comfortable and not notice. But so I'm really interested in what your home life growing up here was like. So you said that up until what age were you guys speaking Vietnamese only in the household?
Well, so it's still so my mom will still speak Vietnamese to me whenever I come.
Okay.
It's just that she's gotten better at trying or understanding my English, basically. So I guess that in the end it kind of worked out pretty well because now she can understand English pretty well, and
Mhm.
I can still understand her. But I would say around like I said, I think it was around like third grade is when we like stopped trying to like teach me Vietnamese. So I just
Okay.
focused on English.
So you could focus on English. Did you do you remember when you said third grade?
I
Do
would
you
say
rem-
roughly.
do you remember if you thought more in English or more in Vietnamese when you were speaking both
Definitely
languages?
English. English, yeah.
Definitely English, even though your household was completely Vietnamese.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how it works, how it kind of just clicks in your head how it goes in one ear and then it translates.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's so interesting. Do you
Yeah.
think that did you watch a lot of like TV and like hear like the radio a lot when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that's why English was more prominent?
Um, yeah, I would say it was a pretty big influence for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, do you do you make a lot of Vietnamese food for yourself?
Um, I try to, but like I definitely still go over to my parents' house quite a bit. It's always Vietnamese dishes like every single night.
Wait, wait,
Uh,
wait. Let me ask, how do you cook rice?
rice, I totally cook it in a rice cooker.
Oh, what? No, you have to tell everybody. This is the Asian test. How do you cook rice?
Like, how do I cook rice?
Now, what's the proper way to cook rice?
Um, I'm not sure. What do you mean?
What?
I'm not sure
Wait,
if I'm not.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. Okay, so I'll tell you a story.
Have I been doing it wrong?
I don't know. Um, so I painted houses for a little while outside of college, and my boss, his name's Tony Wong, and like he's a big burly white dude with like I think he's a quarter Chinese,
Okay.
but you couldn't tell by looking at him. And my first day on the job, I was like, if you're a quarter Chinese, how do you cook rice? And he's like, well, you rinse it twice and then you measure it with your knuckle.
Okay. Interesting.
You haven't heard that before?
No, I've never heard that.
What? How do you measure it when you cook it in a rice cooker?
Just by the by the cup.
Okay, fair. Um anyways, yeah. uh when you were growing up, did you feel like there was a disconnect with your home life being Vietnamese and then your like school and work life being white?
um, yeah, I feel like my parents definitely wanted me to just get out there, and I think that's a big part of why they let me, like, why they stayed in Montana is because they wanted me to grow up outside, basically. I spent a lot
Okay.
of time, like, so I would lose my bicycle constantly as a
Why?
very irresponsible kid. But they would keep getting me new ones because I think they enjoyed how much time I would spend outside with like my friends and stuff like that.
Like your white
Yeah,
friends?
they were definitely all white growing up there.
Okay.
Um, they were always really good about like just letting me do kind of what I wanted. I think they definitely that was their intention of raising us here was so I don't want to say that they wanted us to grow up more white, but I think they
But they
just
wanted you to have an easy life.
exactly
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you talk about that with your parents as an adult now?
No, I would say that my parents are both very closed books, especially my dad. My dad has always been a very closed book guy.
Like they don't like to talk about their feelings and stuff?
Yeah, and I would say yeah, I would say that's fair. I would say that my family growing up was very independent. I would say, um, and I would say that my brother, my older brother, wasn't a very good older brother, and I would say that that passed down. I wasn't a very better, good brother to my little brother.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I would say that we were just so disconnected, like we weren't close.
Oh, okay. You
Would
know,
say that.
um, I don't, not that this rings true for every Asian family, but do you know Josh Tara?
No.
I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Um, he he is Filipino and Japanese, and he was telling me that his parents pretty much never say they love him to him, and like and my mom doesn't either. My mom's like a very non like we don't talk about our emotions and like suck it up like
Okay, so I exactly, you know exactly what I'm saying. It's pretty much the exact same thing at my house.
okay. So as you've gotten older, do you think about this very much about like your family dynamic and like being in a white culture and
Yeah, definitely. I feel like as of recent years, I've been more curious about their life when they were younger, like when they first came here.
mm-hmm.
Um,
How
and
old were they when they migrated?
they were both teenagers. My mom had to have been 17, I want to say. But they both had to. My mom's family is a little bit, I guess, comes from money a little bit.
Okay.
And then my dad's side is very, very poor. So my mother's side was able to afford to fly her out here. And they both, she ended up in a refugee camp where she learned how to speak basic English with my aunt. And then my dad he landed in Alaska, hence the name. And he did,
Okay.
yeah, and he worked as a fisherman for a really long time. He bounced all around the United States. He had a pretty cool life, from what I hear, from what I see in pictures. But at some point he landed here. They met in an Albertsons, is what I hear. Um,
Oh, that's cute.
I guess my dad knew that she was Vietnamese, and he followed her around the grocery store like creeper.
Oh,
And
I mean, I feel like that story would not be like okay today, but
right,
it is so cute.
right. And that's pretty much the extent of what I know of how they met. But I just definitely I've been more curious as of recent years. Um, Maybe someday I'll get around to asking them. But
Have you been to Vietnam?
no, I really want to. But I guess now is
Yeah,
not
now's not
soon.
not quite the time. What part of Vietnam is your family from?
Um, I already forgot what it's called. One second. I want to say it's Hanoi, but I'm not 100% positive.
Okay, both of them are from Hanoi?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's lucky. Are there things that your family does different that you've noticed than like other family, like white families?
Um, let's see. I would say religious wise, they growing up, there was never any sort of religion going on. They actually are newly Buddhist as of like I want to say about 10 years. I want to say
Okay.
um,
That's new. Like
that's new. Yeah, that was not a thing when I was a kid. They're newly vegetarians as well.
oh
That was
wow.
not a thing when I was a kid. Um,
And like also since they became Buddhist, they're vegetarian.
yes.
Okay. Is that typical of Vietnamese being Buddhist or or vegetarian?
No, that's more of the Buddhist thing, I would say. Um,
Okay.
I don't know when it's or why it started. I think my dad is what started it. I think he just started reading into it. He really liked it. He really believed what they were saying, and then introduced it to my mother, and then now they're I would say hardcore Buddhists for sure.
Mm-hmm. Um, how do you are most of your cousins um also were they born here?
Yes, they also grew up in. I want to say they grew up here when we were younger. They bounced back. I know they bounced back and forth from Portland. I know that the Portland thing wasn't like a wild decision. I want to say they jumped back and forth.
Okay. Um, I was wondering if you guys like have you has any of your family that lives in Vietnam come over here to just visit for a little bit?
Um, no. So my the entirety of my mom's side definitely moved away from Vietnam. My dad's side basically couldn't afford to leave, so my dad would go out there.
Okay.
And but nobody's ever come from Vietnam to visit us.
Okay. Because I was gonna ask if you have um if you like do you identify as just Vietnamese or do you identify as Vietnamese American?
Probably Vietnamese American.
Okay. Um, and why is that?
Um, I don't. I actually don't know. I guess. I guess if somebody asked me what am I would say Vietnamese. So I guess
Yeah.
the first one
The
actually.
first one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just asked because when I was growing up, my mom always told us we're Filipino and
Hmm.
like, the end. And then when we started going back to the Philippines, then whenever we would say we were Filipino, then people would look at us confused because we were clearly also white.
Hmm.
And and that kind of started an identity crisis for me when I was growing up and for my little sister. And so like it took me until like from 15 all the way until like 22 to realize how important that hyphen is for me. Um, just so like when people ask what I am, I say Filipino American, and then I don't have to explain anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I
Right.
felt like if I was using just Filipino or just American, then it came with an entire explanation that I had to validate my existence.
Right.
Have
That's fair.
you like felt similar things?
Um, I guess I've never really thought about it. Um, I would say that I agree with you for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I would say that if whenever I do tell people that I'm Vietnamese, people do get, they kind of pep up and they actually are very intrigued. They're very interested to learn more about that.
Uh-huh. And what do you tell people?
Um, I don't know. I just kind of tell them about how I grew up here and stuff like that, and then they're always very surprised about. They're like, "Oh, you grew up here," and it's like, "Yeah, I grew up here." Um, but I guess that's kind of where it starts, and um,
Are you annoyed by that? Like, do you feel like you have to repeat yourself a lot?
I feel like I definitely have to repeat myself a lot. No, I wouldn't say that I'm annoyed about it. I feel like I've grown up quite tolerant of
Yeah,
diversity.
yeah. Do you think that's a luxury of being Asian as opposed to being indigenous or black?
Yeah, I think so. I guess I would say so. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say that like people are always super duper curious. Growing
Hmm.
up here, I mean, growing up as a kid, there's definitely like low key racism, like people thinking that they're making funny jokes or something like that. And as a kid, I
Okay.
guess I didn't really think of, I didn't really care because
What kind of jokes did you hear?
um, people would always, like I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Oh,
Let me get back to you on that. Let me think on some of
okay.
those insults.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, we don't have to relive those. Um, so how do you feel about the term BIPOC? Are like and just like the community coming together?
Yeah.
Is that something that's like been exciting to you, or something that you feel like unsure if you are like included in that?
Yeah. I feel like Missoula as a whole has always been super, a very close knit community. I was really grateful when Rio reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, of course I want to be a part of it.
Uh-huh.
Do you know Rio?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, Rio's a cool girl. Um, yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of it. I think um, as a community and as a creative, I think it's good to support all the other creatives.
Mm-hmm. I think it took me a while to feel comfortable using the term BIPOC with myself, because I I haven't had the best experiences talking to white people about my experiences,
Mhm.
and like and them being validated, or just received well. And I think it's always been but you're not black or you're not indigenous, so you don't have room to talk about these things. And so when the term BIPOC came out, I felt really uncomfortable with associating that with myself, because I felt like I didn't necessarily deserve to be a part of it.
Right.
Like, have you felt anything like that, or not really?
Not really. I wouldn't say so.
It was just easy for you to be like, yeah, BIPOC.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Well, that's good. You seem to just be a really happy person.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Um, are there like Vietnamese like big parties that happen in Montana that like
Um,
people can come to?
Clarify.
So just for an example, like in Montana, we do a Filipino American party every summer.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and so it switches between major cities in Montana every summer.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, I only know it because I was like raised in the community.
Yeah,
But
no, that not a thing, but that sounds pretty cool. I wish that was a thing.
yeah, I've just always wondered like what other communities are doing, because you don't necessarily hear about them if you're not, part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
And how would you like to see white allies, or what would you like to see from white allies to make Missoula more inclusive?
Hmm. I guess support, right? I guess more overall support would be the
Okay.
best answer. Um, what
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 kind of support would you like to see?
just like just letting everyone know that they're there. Um, you know, I don't know. What about you?
Um, oh my gosh, I honestly haven't thought about I've asked everybody this, but I haven't thought of
Have
it
they had
myself.
pretty good answers?
I think like for me, my fear has been being left out
Okay.
of the conversation. Um, like as I said, of just being received and validated as being a person of color. Like I'm very aware that I haven't experienced racism and oppression the same way as Black, Indigenous,
Yeah.
and Indigenous, but also I just like don't want to feel afraid to be a part of the community, you know, and it's not by other people of color, it's that has been from white people. And so like I just, for me, I want to feel acknowledged,
Yeah.
you know. Does that help? Does that give you any ideas?
Mm, I definitely agree with you. I guess I haven't thought about that very much either. I will sit on that, and I will definitely
Okay.
get back to you if I can come up with a good answer. Um,
Well, what do you think about do you have any opinions about any of the rallies, um or actually a better question would be like, and would you like white allies to come and like offer help, or like just educate themselves, or what?
it's the question where like how do I feel about the rallies?
Or no, sorry. I segued. Um, like, in what way do you feel like is most appropriate for white allies to help? Like, is it by trying to have these conversations, or
Educating themselves and opening up an appropriate conversation, um, and then also just supporting the community as a whole would is a good place to start, I would say.
okay, and by supporting just like showing up to rallies and like I guess I don't like if anyone's listening to this, like I think Rio, what she did has been so helpful for all of us,
Yeah.
right? Creating that BIPOC
Yeah.
list.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like it is really easy for me to just be like, okay, their Instagram, you know.
Yeah, it was a really good idea. I think just stuff like that. I think just supporting
Hmm.
businesses and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
and even here at the shelter, we had a meeting about it on where the the Humane Society of Western Montana stands with it. We gathered staff and the board, and we had a conversation about what we should do as a shelter, because the shelter is about helping the community. It's not just about helping animals; it's about helping people and their
Okay.
pets. And so we had a conversation about it, and we definitely had a lot of good ideas, and we're still pending a second meeting. It just we're just trying to come up with a plan and a statement of where we stand with that.
Okay. And what does that look like? Is that being involved in like the BIPOC movement, or?
Yeah, there's just like changing where we order our supplies and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then we thought about creating like kind of like a program of where we would like swap staff. Like maybe we go to a city where there is more BIPOC people, and we would swap. So they would come to our shelter where it's more of a white community, and then we would go out there where it's more of a diverse community. Um,
Interesting. That'd
yeah,
be
so
really cool.
that was an idea. There's a big long list that we definitely talked about it for a couple hours.
Okay.
A whole day to talking about it. Um, really cool stuff.
Um, so I know I said I only had one more question, but I talked to another girl here who is Vietnamese American, and um, her dad was an orphan that was flown out to California, and his birth certificate was forged, so they don't even know how old he is.
Oh wow.
And but she is saying that she doesn't know any other Vietnamese in Missoula, and like that she would love, to like get more in touch with her culture. Like, would you be okay with me sharing your information with her?
Yeah, pass it along.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks for talking. Oh, let me see. I think Rachel, I'm pretty sure it's Rachel. I had 3 of these meetings yesterday. So,
Has it been helpful?
honestly, like I cried during one of them, and let's see. And yeah, it's Rachel. Okay. And I didn't know that these conversations would heal me the way that they have been. I didn't know that like I needed that.
Yeah.
Like it's been everyone that I've talked to has had these identity crises about like are they a person of color enough to identify with their other culture, and like of course they are. But like and I'm guilty of that, where I'm half Filipino. I grew up and my parents were divorced, so I grew up in a Filipino home with a
Mhm.
Filipino community, like raised by like we all of us kids were raised by the community. And yet as an adult, because of these conversations with white people on my identity, like I haven't felt like I could totally own that, own being Filipino.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of people go through similar things and have been trying to bring more of their culture into their home and not just practice like white traditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you, like, now that you live by your like outside of your parents' home, do you bring a lot of Vietnamese tradition into your home?
Um, no, sadly not. I would say no. Um, Other than the food, I would say I
That
tried
food
to.
is a huge thing.
Yeah,
Like
food is definitely a big part
the
of it.
the fact that you eat rice, how often?
Um, Not as often as as a kid, but definitely I
Okay.
still a thing for
The
sure.
fact that you have a rice cooker though, I think says a lot. I don't even have a rice cooker. Like I had to remember I made curry a couple times since I've been living here, and I had to remember how to make rice in a pot. And um yeah, and I every time I do it, I'm like, God dang it, I need to get like a little rice cooker, you
To
know?
be fair, it's a pressure cooker, so
Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind.
I recommend it.
But so you know how to cook Vietnamese food though.
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
see, I know how to make like some desserts.
yeah. Pho is like my favorite thing. That's the one thing that I definitely made my mom teach me. I was like, this is the one thing that I need to know.
Oh man, we should have a potluck.
We should have a potluck.
With like all the people on this list.
We
That'd be
should.
really
It'll
fun.
be fun.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for talking with me
Of
this
course,
morning.
yeah. Of course.
Right, and I'll send you Rachel's information and vice versa.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Bye.